We became financially free at the age of 27 through real estate investing, and we are going to share our top tips so you can do it too. Tip number 1, buy cash flowing assets. So Warren Buffett said,
if you don't figure out how to make money while you sleep, you will work until you die.
So the only way for you to actually retire early and become financially free is to buy something that works for you and makes money for you instead of you having to work for money. So for us, we chose real estate because we can understand it, right? We buy a building or a house, a tenant rents it, it pays for expenses, and then we get a little bit extra, and that's cash flow to us. We don't actually have to do anything. We just buy the asset and it keeps giving us recurring cash flow.
But tenants and toilets, you say?
Well, watch some of our other videos to realize how you don't have to deal with tenants and toilets when you buy cash flowing real estate. But on that note, we're going to move on to the next thing, which is the other common objection we get here is,
that's well and good. You've got all the money in the world to buy cash flowing assets, but where do you get the money?
Well, the very first step to getting the money to buy your cash flowing assets is to create a gap. A difference between how much you make and how much you spend. And that's really the only difference between those who accumulate wealth and those who don't. As long as there's a gap, you will slowly accumulate. Any gap will work. The bigger the gap you make, the faster you get there.
For those of you who don't know our story, we actually started broke, right? So I was a broke immigrant. I used to make $1 an hour. Chris was a broke college student when we met. So we had no money in the beginning.
We actually started with negative net worth.
Right, because I had a lot of student loans that I brought to our marriage, unfortunately for Chris. So we started there too. If you are currently in debt and you currently had no money, we had no money and we were in debt like 7 years ago. And then now we are financially free.
Which is great news.
So if we can do it, you can too. Tip number 3, think of the one thing that will move the needle as far as your gap goes. A lot of us see those posts that people post where it's like, oh, if people just didn't spend $5 on Starbucks, and then you see it and it's like, oh, well, I only spent $20 a month on Starbucks, so it's not really gonna help me. Yes, so that is probably not the one thing for you. So you wanna actually look at one thing that will move the needle so that you can have more of a gap each month so you can put that away for investing. And it's going to be different for each of us. For some of us, it might be we need to maybe pay for a certification or go to a class so we can increase our skills and increase our income. For some of us, it might be moving to a low cost of living area. So for Chris and I, we actually did that. We chose between, when we got married, we chose between the two of the cities we lived in, and Chris had a lower cost of living area. So we were like, hey, let's start our life here. We're going to be able to save more money so we can invest more, and that's what we did. For some of you, it might be instead of saving money on Starbucks that you only spend $20 a month on, it's saving money on shopping that you spend $5,000 a month on, right?
Wow.
So it really just depends. Just look at what you spend each month and how much you make each month and see what's the one thing that is possible for you to actually move the needle forward.
Yep, and we see a lot of these tips in a lot of channels like this where they're talking about saving nickels and dimes. By comparison, there's such small amounts. And yeah, all those nickels and dimes add up. But there's usually one or two things in your world that you can do that will really move the needle. Again, the example for us was picking a lower cost of living area. If you live in California versus living in Gainesville, Florida, there's a huge difference in the cost of living in both of those areas. So it allows you to really make some very big headway. And people always get hung up like, I don't want to live in Gainesville, Florida. I don't want to live in some small town. You don't have to live there forever. You're doing it just to get ahead, and then you can move back to wherever you like the most after you're wealthy. Which actually brings us to number 4, this like no for now, not forever kind of deal. As you start increasing your income, as you start making gains in the amount of money you make, passively or actively, we are trained as consumers to spend everything we've got. That's actually what society teaches us to do, and it's really damaging. Fight that. Don't fall into the consumer trap, right? As you make more money, that's great. You can increase your lifestyle. You can do all of those things. Don't use all of it. Let's say you make an extra $1,000 a month. Don't spend an extra $1,000 a month in your lifestyle. If you want to grow slowly, maybe spend only $800 a month, and now you're saving $200 a month from that extra gain. Or if you want to accelerate very quickly, you've made an extra $1,000 a month, only spend $200 a month on improving your lifestyle, and you'll grow much more quickly. Keep that snowball rolling.
That's actually the biggest thing that helped us. Because like I said earlier, we started as broke college students and we lived like broke college students until we became financially free. And then now we can spend the $1,000 on a dinner. Now we can spend all that money on the fancy Europe vacation, right? But we get to spend that money from passive income. We don't ever have to work for money anymore. Yes, we still work. Look, we're making this free YouTube video for you because we just want to do it, right? But we actually don't have to. We do not have to do anything. Our passive income pays for everything. And if you just do what we're talking about right now and just say no for now, but not forever, you can actually pay for that thing forever later.
And that no for now and not forever concept, right? It's choosing what you want most instead of what you want now. And yes, it feels like a sacrifice now. It may not feel like a sacrifice at all, but it sets you up for something. But you can get there and you can enjoy the thing you actually care about most if you spend a little bit of discipline up front.
And number 5 is enjoy the journey. So for a lot of you, you might be in the beginning steps of your journey and you're thinking it's going to take a really long time to get there. And look, a really long time might be 3 to 7 years like it took us, but it sets you up for the rest of your life. The important thing is to actually celebrate the small wins, right? If you're starting where we started, where we were in complete debt and had no savings, we celebrated the small wins. When our bank account first reached $1,000, we celebrated that. When we first invested into our very first property that gave us $300 a month, we celebrated that. It didn't become $10,000 a month in one day, right? And that's not going to happen for you either. Financial freedom actually takes discipline and time because it lasts forever. The work that you put in every day is going to last forever. You need to enjoy those little victories, because the little victories is actually what adds up to your financial freedom.
Yeah, so like, again, sometimes like that financial freedom number, let's say it's, I don't know, 10 grand a month. That might seem like a huge amount of money. You might not make 10 grand a month actively right now, and you want it passively. But every step is a huge win in the beginning, right? Your first gap, right? If you were living paycheck to paycheck and now you save $200 a month, that's huge, right? That literally sets you up for freedom in so many years, right? Your first passive income, the first money you make that you don't have to work for, that's outrageously huge. Like that's life-changing because it opens up the door to your freedom, right? And the snowball starts rolling. Every one of those little wins is huge and you should sit and acknowledge it for a moment because it will help you maintain like the enthusiasm for the next step, and you're just doing the next right step and the next right step, and they all build and it grows and it becomes amazing.
Also, remember to compare yourself to yourself from yesterday, not to us, right? Don't compare your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 200.
I was about to say, if you're going to compare yourself to us, at least compare yourself to us when we were in your shoes, which we were. That's a fair comparison. But compare you now, if you're not there yet to where we are, you can get there. It's not fair to make that comparison yet.
Now, tip number 6 is actually a whole separate video. It's forever cash flow is better than one-time cash flow. So make sure you click that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can be the first person to see when our next video is up. If you like this video, please click that like button. We also have a free Facebook group called Faster Financial Freedom where you can meet and network with other people just like you who are on the path to financial freedom. Some of them are already there like us, so we can help you out and answer your questions there. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching and we'll see you at the next video.